Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment you're in a city that promises to fulfill your every dream. It's a place where success is just a step away. The streets shine with opportunity, and the world seems to be at your feet. But what if I told you that this very city's dreams, is hiding a dark and painful truth? A truth that millions are living through every single day. The speech begins by emphasizing the harsh reality of human trafficking, which is often hidden from public view despite its widespread impact. We are living in a world where we want to believe that our cities of dreams, are places of opportunity, success, and prosperity. However, beneath the bright lights and glamorous facades, there exists a darker undercurrent, one that traps vulnerable individuals in an invisible web of exploitation. The film in question aims to reveal this truth, showing not only the disturbing statistics, but also the deeply personal human stories behind them. Human trafficking isn't just a global problem, it's a local one. Many people think of human trafficking as something that happens in faraway places or only in poverty-stricken areas, but it's happening everywhere. In bustling cities behind closed doors in plain sight, for far too long the stories of those caught in this terrible cycle have been ignored or buried under the weight of our distractions. The people being trafficked have their own dreams of a better life, of hope and freedom, but these dreams are crushed under the weight of manipulation, violence, and control. They are not just statistics or headlines. These are real people, each with a name, a family, and aspirations just like yours. This keynote focuses on the idea that for change to occur, we must first face the truth, however uncomfortable it may be. The problem with human trafficking is that it thrives in the shadows where awareness is limited. When we confront the hard reality of what is happening in our cities, it creates an urgency for action. The truth is not something we should fear. We must see it for what it is, because only then can we dismantle the systems that allow it to continue. The film forces us to reckon with these truths, to open our eyes to what we might prefer to ignore. But ignoring it doesn't make the problem go away. In fact, it empowers those who profit from this suffering. By unveiling this truth, we allow ourselves the opportunity to take a stand, to raise our voices, and to refuse to accept a world where these atrocities are happening without consequence. Awareness is a powerful weapon. Once we know the truth, we can no longer turn a blind eye. The film's message isn't just to inform, it's to ignite action, to bring the hidden suffering into light so that together we can begin to change the narrative. It reminds us that we have a collective responsibility, a moral obligation to fight against this injustice. Each of us has a role to play in the eradication of human trafficking, and this begins with confronting the truth, no matter how painful it may be. The City of Dreams represents a place where hope is supposed to thrive, a place where people come to find opportunities and create a better life for themselves. The glimmer of the city lights and the promise of success pull in thousands, each with their own dreams, each believing they are about to take the first step towards something greater. But the film exposes how, for many, these dreams quickly turn into nightmares. Instead of opportunities, they are faced with betrayal, manipulation, and an unseen world of exploitation. The allure of the city promising wealth and success becomes a trap, leading victims into an existence where they are controlled, abused, and stripped of their humanity. The city, which many envision as a haven of potential, hides the brutal truth of how people are lured into this system. It's easy to be seduced by the idea of a better life in a bustling metropolis. After all, the city symbolizes freedom, progress, and growth. But the reality, as this film reveals, is a dark reflection of that illusion. Behind closed doors, behind the bright lights and shiny skyscrapers, lies a hidden epidemic. Those who come to the city seeking freedom and opportunity often find themselves trapped in a cycle of exploitation, stripped of their dignity and freedom. They enter with hope, only to realize that the promises were empty and the life they thought they were building was never meant to be theirs. This concept is not just a theme in the film, it's a reflection of the lives of real people. The false hope of a better life feeds into the hands of traffickers who prey on the vulnerable, those looking for a way out of poverty, a way to escape an abusive situation, or a way to start over. This is where the manipulation begins, where dreams turn into deception. The film helps viewers see that the victims are not just random strangers, they are human beings with the same hopes, desires, and fears that we all have. They come to the city to pursue a dream, only to have it torn away, their innocence lost. This duality of the city as a place of opportunity and a place of darkness becomes a powerful emotional hook. It forces us to confront not just the victims of human trafficking, but the system that allows it to thrive in the very place where we would least expect it. The film challenges us to look beyond the image of the perfect city and see the reality that is often hidden from view. It makes us question how we can allow such injustice to occur in a place that promises dreams to all who walk its streets. It's not just about the victims, it's about a system that is broken, one that we must work to fix. The power of empathy is one of the most transformative forces we possess as human beings. The film calls us to look beyond the numbers and headlines to see the individuals behind the tragedy of human trafficking. Every statistic represents a real person, a person with dreams, aspirations, and a life that once held infinite possibilities. But these individuals become victims of an unimaginable horror. Through empathy, the audience is urged to recognize that human trafficking is not a faceless crime. It is a crime that steals the lives of real people, people who were once like us, with families, goals, and futures. When we allow ourselves to truly connect with the victims on a personal level, we stop seeing them as just another tragic story in the news. We see them as human beings who were robbed of their basic rights, who are struggling not just for freedom, but for dignity, respect, and the chance to rebuild their lives. The film presents their stories, not just as victims, but as individuals with names, histories, and futures that have been stolen away. This connection to the victims forces us to feel what they feel, to experience the pain, the trauma, and the constant fight for survival. It calls us to ask, how can we ignore their suffering when they are so much like us? Empathy has the power to ignite action. When we view the victims of human trafficking through the lens of empathy, we stop thinking of them as abstract figures or distant strangers. They become part of our community. Their struggle becomes our own. We can no longer stand by idly when we understand that they are people just like us, people who deserve the same chance at life, love, and freedom. The more we understand their pain, the stronger our desire to make a difference becomes. We are no longer passive observers. We are active participants in the fight for their freedom. This deep sense of empathy isn't just about feeling bad for the victims. It's about standing with them, using our voices, our influence, and our resources to create a world where human trafficking has no place. The film challenges us to not only feel their suffering, but to act on it. The victims of human trafficking need our compassion, our support, and most importantly, they need us to speak out for them. Through empathy, we are reminded that every life has intrinsic value, and every human being deserves to live free from fear and exploitation. The power of awareness cannot be overstated when it comes to combating human trafficking. The first step in changing any injustice is recognizing that it exists, and this film serves as a crucial tool in raising awareness. Most of us want to believe that such atrocities are isolated, that they happen far away in places we don't know or care about. But the painful truth is that human trafficking occurs right in our own cities and communities we consider safe, in neighborhoods we drive through every day. The movie shatters the illusion that these horrific crimes happen elsewhere, forcing us to face the uncomfortable fact that this is happening all around us. Awareness has the unique power to bring an issue into the light. Before we can make any real progress in ending human trafficking, we must first understand its scale, its methods, and its impact. Many people simply don't realize how insidious human trafficking is. It isn't just the stuff of criminal headlines. It's not only about kidnappings or sensationalized news stories. It's about vulnerability, manipulation, and the exploitation of individuals who are often coerced into trafficking under the false promise of a better life. By bringing these truths to the surface, the film exposes the ways traffickers operate and the brutal systems they use to control their victims. This level of awareness is the foundation of any successful effort to stop human trafficking in its tracks. When awareness is raised, it sparks a change in perception. It makes us realize that we can't afford to look away any longer. We have a responsibility to act, to stand up, and to demand that this injustice be addressed. The knowledge of what's happening right under our noses calls us to be vigilant, to watch for signs of trafficking in our communities, and to take steps to intervene. This isn't a problem we can leave for others to solve. Every person who sees the film becomes part of a movement to stop human trafficking. Awareness empowers us all to take action, whether it's by supporting organizations that fight trafficking, educating others about the signs of exploitation, or lobbying for stronger laws to protect victims. What the film does so powerfully is open our eyes to the magnitude of human trafficking, helping us see it not as something distant or impossible to fight, but as a tangible issue that requires our collective effort. Once we are aware, we cannot unsee the truth, and it becomes our duty to push for change. The illusion of safety is one of the most dangerous misconceptions when it comes to human trafficking. Many people believe that this crime happens in distant, troubled areas or to individuals who are somehow different from us. It's easy to think that we are insulated from this kind of horror simply because we live in a stable environment or a prosperous city. The film breaks down this comforting myth by showing that human trafficking is not a problem confined to others or distant lands. It's happening right here in our neighborhoods, in our schools, and on our streets. The victims of trafficking are not just faceless people from impoverished countries. They are our friends, our children, our brothers and sisters. This false sense of security, this idea that it can't happen to us, is what allows human trafficking to flourish in plain sight. When the film exposes the prevalence of trafficking in seemingly safe and thriving cities, it forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth that we are not immune. The perpetrators of these crimes operate under the radar, blending in with everyday life, finding ways to exploit vulnerable individuals without anyone noticing. The victims, who could be anyone, young teens, immigrants, or those struggling with poverty, are often invisible to the average person. They are hidden in plain sight, working in industries we often take for granted, living in neighborhoods we think of as secure. The notion that this could never happen to us or that it only affects the marginalized is what makes this issue so insidious. It thrives because of our complacency, our unwillingness to see the problem that is right in front of us. The film challenges us to break free from the sense of safety, asking us to look deeper into the world around us and to question what we are overlooking. It compels us to realize that the fight against human trafficking isn't just about other countries or poor communities, it's about our own communities and cities. It calls for a shift in perspective from thinking that trafficking is something out there to recognizing that it's happening in our own backyards. This shift is necessary if we are going to start making real progress in protecting those at risk and supporting survivors. This illusion of safety isn't just dangerous, it's deadly. It allows traffickers to operate unchecked and undetected. It prevents us from seeing the warning signs and understanding the ways in which we are complicit in allowing these crimes to continue. The film pulls back the curtain on this deception, forcing us to acknowledge that we are all interconnected and that the safety of one depends on the safety of all. We can no longer afford to assume that trafficking happens only in certain places or to certain people. It's a problem for us all, and it's up to us to dismantle the false sense of security that has allowed it to thrive. The power to inspire change lies in the hands of every single person. The film does more than expose the horrifying reality of human trafficking. It calls for a collective response, a commitment to action. It challenges the audience to see that this is not a problem that can be solved by a few, nor is it an issue that will resolve itself. It is an issue that demands all of us to step forward, to not just recognize the problem, but to actively participate in finding solutions. This call to action is not a request, but a responsibility. Once we are aware of the depth and reach of human trafficking, we cannot remain passive. We must be willing to take the next step and use our voices, resources, and influence to make a difference. The film invites viewers to become part of a movement that goes beyond awareness. It inspires us to advocate for policy changes, support organizations that work tirelessly to protect and rehabilitate survivors, and raise awareness in our own communities. The battle against human trafficking requires more than just awareness, it needs action. Whether that action involves reporting suspicious activities, engaging in conversations that break the silence around trafficking, or providing financial and emotional support to survivors, every effort counts. The more people who understand the urgency of the issue, the stronger the movement becomes. The need for change is undeniable. And the film doesn't just lay out the problem, it empowers us to be part of the solution. The idea that change is possible may seem daunting at first, but every movement starts with individuals making small yet powerful decisions. The film serves as a reminder that every voice matters and that even the smallest actions, educating ourselves and others, supporting advocacy, volunteering, or simply being aware of the signs of trafficking, can create ripples of change. The more people who step up, the greater the momentum becomes, and the closer we get to dismantling the systems that perpetuate this injustice. This call to action extends beyond individual efforts. It asks us to challenge the larger systems that allow human trafficking to flourish. It's about advocating for stronger laws, pushing for law enforcement to receive proper training, and ensuring that survivors are given the resources and support they need to rebuild their lives. These systemic changes require a united front, a collective effort that draws strength from the power of individuals working together. It's about understanding that we are all part of a global community, and the well-being of one impacts the well-being of all. In the end, the film emphasizes that each of us has a vital role to play in ending human trafficking. This is not someone else's problem. It is ours to address. The future depends on whether we choose to act. Together, we can transform the world into a place where freedom, justice, and dignity are the rights of all, not just a privileged few.